So we're gonna do a little conversation today. And first, let me welcome everybody to another episode of BDSM Real Kinksters. I'm joined by my loving and adorable wife, Marina, um, who is also a educator herself, properly trained. Um, Go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, honey. Tell people a little bit about what you do for the lifestyle.
No, well, yeah, first off, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a submissive, and an admin of several BDSM groups. Um, right in that order, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, we do this for a couple of years now. It's actually something we both enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. So today I think we're going to talk about a little bit about red flags and what each role can kind of see from each other, you know. What do we see? What should dominance be looking for in submissive? And what should a submissive be looking for in a dominant? Um, so for those that don't know, I'm Robert. I have been in a lifestyle for 30 plus years. I traveled around as a trainer, mentor, educator, whatnot. So this is going to be our first like real conversation. Um, you hear me refer to my wife as honey. That is my honorific for her. So that's, just to be clear. So let's kick this off. What do you think are some red flags that you have seen in the community from dominance and that you've talked to other submissives about that, you know, submissives should really be on the lookout for?
Um, yeah, that quite a lot. Um, the most used thing is honorifics outside of dynamic.
Yeah.
They people demand to call them sir, master, whatever, right from the start, without having the negotiations, without having a dynamic at all. And if you don't call them by their title, you're not a submissive.
Yeah, I think on the dominant side of that, I think that one of the big red flags that I see a lot from submissives is the inability to follow just basic everyday request. You know, I remember when we first started, it was, hey, send me a picture. You know, that was before before our negotiations, before all of that. And it wasn't really a command. It was more of just a basic, hey, send me a photo of you just smiling in the camera, you know. Um, and there's a lot of submissives that can't do that, that don't do that. And it to me that's a real big red flag. And being a brat, like being a brat where and I don't mean like I mean let's be clear. First, brats don't exist. They don't. Okay. They don't. The original brat was a Sam, so um I mean so the biggest red flag I see from a lot of submissives is they brat at people without consent, without negotiation, without actually being inside of a dynamic with that person. And they get into these chats and and they just let it fly. And they're rude and they're disrespectful and they have no common sense.
The funniest thing for me is when people just join the lifestyle and say, "Hey, I'm a new submissive," uh, and I'm a pred. And I'm like, how do you know that?
Right.
You don't even know what a submissive is, so how can you know what a pred is and
Right.
how to pred ethically or in the right way?
Right. Or, a really big, I mean, what's another red flag you see from dominance doing? Well, I mean,
A lot. It's giving orders with yeah, mostly right from the start. Don't even know the person behind this submissive, don't even know what might be a trigger, what might be something in their past. They give commands and ex accept to expect to follow them without even knowing the person. Um, they don't take the time. They don't. They mostly know everything about the lifestyle. That's why they are
master,
master.
yeah, master superdome or
But
years of millennia of experience. I got millions of years of experience. I know everything. I am a
yeah,
master.
yes, the math of disaster, probably.
But they can't tell you the importance of communication in a
They don't know anything about the pillars. They don't even know different types of play. They have no idea what happens to submissive in subspace or what subspace actually is. They
dom.
don't have a clue. They don't have a clue about anything.
Right. I agree. I agree. Be it, um, I don't know. I think that the other thing I've seen that's a big red flag for me, not from a dominant or submissive, but just a practitioner point of view, is DMing without permission, jumping uh, into someone's chat box without permission, um, and then automatically using an honorific, or just jumping in a chat box and just saying hello, and I find it I find it disrespectful and a violation of consent when that is not shared, what I mean, when that's not mutually agreed upon. I think that's a huge red flag.
It shows also what kind of submissive or dominant, doesn't even matter, it's on both sides, what type of person they are. If they cannot follow a simple rule like no PM without permission, what does it say about them? For the submissive side, they are incapable to follow a rule. For the dominant, they are don't care. They don't care about rules at all.
For me, another red flag that is a really big red flag is exposing their body. I know it's a hot topic, but and a lot of submissives are going to feel a little shamed by it. But I'm not kink shaming. It's just my preference. For me, if I see a submissive who is more interested in showing her boobs or showing off her body in a bunch of different photos all over, TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all this thirst trap stuff. What that tells me is that they have nothing to offer intellectually. And for me, that's one thing, that I really look for. And it's one thing I love about you is that beautiful mind of yours. Um, so
But I guess that's actually a perception or a preference from yourself, because a lot of people like to show their body. It's actually a king for them.
that's true.
Um, they need the attention for what reason ever.
Yeah, but again, now we're back on, a lot of practitioners, newer practitioners, and even older practitioners, not understanding the pillar of consent, because now you're throwing this out there. How do you know everybody wants to see that? How do
Yeah,
you
that's
that's to everybody in the lifestyle?
Yeah, this is kind of a hot topic in nearly every BDSM group I'm in or I'm at an admin. On the one side is we are not king shaming, so people should be allowed to show that. But on the other hand, you have the people who are not consenting to that, who are actually triggered by this shit, or just don't want to see a naked, from my point of view, a naked female body.
Right. I don't think it's so much not wanting to see a naked female body. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of females out there that are like, dude, I don't want to see your boobs. I'm not interested in other females. So, I mean, I get that. Um, but when I look at for me, it shows a lack of education, a lack of understanding of the pillars. And just to be clear to those who watch this, for us, I educate all of my submissives and our community on the pillars of trust, honesty, communication, respect, and consent. Um, so that when I say the pillars, that's what I'm speaking about. But for me, it's a sign that they don't understand the pillars. That because they're not one, they're not respecting the people around them in the community, and two, they're not understanding the pillar of respect for themselves. Because as you know, the pillars must be used with yourself before they can be used with others.
This is true, but there against this is the king of voyeurism
Voyeurism, yeah,
in exhibit. You know
exhibition.
what I mean?
My wife,
um,
and her English is her second language.
yeah,
But
I'm trying.
yeah, no, you do great. But
So that actually stands is the counterweight for it, and we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago about it one of the BDSM groups, and people are mostly the same opinion. When you join a BDSM group, you probably give the consent to see shit like that. If you like it, it's a whole different thing. You can scroll on. Um, so you mostly give the consent to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, I can
yeah.
I can see that. I think it's also the same with like seeing and looking at like shibari, and other things like that. But because those are very common in lifestyle communities where they share these information. They share these images and other stuff like that. So, so what's another red flag you see a lot in the community?
Um, on the submissive side, dom hopping.
Yeah,
It's
big,
getting ridiculous.
yeah,
How many dynamics actually stops, breaks up for whatever reason, most likely because of the lack of knowledge and communication. Um, or so many people asking questions, basic questions actually. Sometimes I think, don't you read about it? Don't you educate yourself? I mean, when I want to do something new, when I drive a car, I need a license.
and that's another that leads me right into my big red flag for submissives, a lack of education. And I think a lot of dominants out there would agree with me that when a submissive doesn't know at least the very basics, I'm not talking about the like hardcore in the lifestyle, but just doesn't know what BDSM stands for, doesn't know, just, what the pillars are, doesn't, and they're not interested in learning. I remember when I was going through my education and through my training, um, reading an article a day, just like yours, okay? Reading an article a day and writing articles was a huge, huge part of it. And I see so many submissives that are like, nope, nope, I ain't reading nothing. Um,
Yeah, time change, so most likely they are watching videos.
which is why we're here, because a lot of people they don't read our articles.
I don't know what it is. For me, it looks like laziness somehow, and on both sides. It's not just the submissive; it's on the dominant side as well. So many submissives can post questions about um, what kind of task, rules, whatever my dominant could give me, and I'm so, what the hell? Actually, that's not your job. That's the dominant job. Why are they don't do their job?
But why are you turning around and asking this, or how come people aren't staying in their roles? And I think that has to do with a lack of foundation, within the dynamic. It's one of the mistakes that a lot of dominants make. Excuse me, audience. I'm looking for a question that was given to us by our group, and I wanted to really address this and towards the end, but we'll do it later. Um, I see a lot of that. I see a lot of, as your video stated, one of your other videos, trying to fit into that box, trying to fit into, and then going outside of that. I'm a submissive, but yet you're the one who is setting your rules. You're the one who is setting your parameters, your protocol, setting your tasks. So I think a lack of education for me is a big red flag. And yeah,
In my opinion, even as a submissive, I have to know the things because how I'm supposed to know my dominant is doing something wrong if I don't have the knowledge about it.
right.
I don't need to know when it comes to the techniques of
Impact,
rope or whatever, but I should know at least what's the danger in it,
right?
how is it to do, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff I need to know. I cannot spot the wrongness of something if I don't know about it. And it's
Absolutely.
not to tell the dominant, hey, you are wrong. Even the dominant makes mistake. He's new, whatever. He's just human. Um, so I need to point it out if something is wrong
Yeah,
for my own safety.
I absolutely agree. There is you know, submissives should know the very basics of the type of play, one, that they are into, and two, that their dominant is into, or their play partner. I mean, you can go to a club and you can play with a play partner, and that's up to you. And a lot of people do that. But even with play partners, you should get to know them at least a little bit. Don't just walk into a club. Hey, my name's Robert. Let's do this. That's a great way to get hurt. And I love how you touched on by a submissive knowing that is not to tell the dominant he's wrong, but it's just to be able to spot the lack of education, and I want to say to submissives out there, look, don't be afraid to communicate with the dominant and say, hey, look, remember, questions are always okay. So it should be, even for those with a speech protocol, questions are always okay. So if I tie a line or rope, um, and inappropriately or incorrectly, and it's squeezing it's constricting or squeezing, or it's too tight on honey's wrist, honey, what would you do?
I would communicate with you and would tell you, hey, that's too tied to whatever.
So I mean, I love how you hit that. That is a huge topic right there. maybe we'll get into that, knowledge that each side should have. But a lot of red flags, the the best defense against any red flag is against all red flags is education. You hit it right on the head. If you
Yes.
don't know what to look for, how can you spot it? You know, I mean, I cannot tell you how many people that my education has raised a red flag about when they say, well, I have 25 years of experience in the lifestyle. But they don't specify the difference between in person and online, or they say or do something after they say that. And I mean, my education has been a huge, huge resource in being able to spot red flags, even yellow flags, or green flags. Let's dive into green flags for just a minute. What are some good things, that a dominant from the submissive side that a dominant or submissive can see in a dominant?
And when they're actually taking their time um, to know this person, not rushing into something or just trying to convince someone to have a dynamic with them, to play with them, whatever. Um, and for me personally, the biggest green flag is when they admit they don't know it, or they lack education on it, or they never heard of it. Even that's possible. Um, and it doesn't make them weak.
Right. Absolutely.
For
I
me,
think,
it shows, actually, it shows they are serious about it. They admit they don't know it and they want the submissive to be safe. So they say, hey, I don't know it,
right.
but I'm going to educate myself on it, whatever it might be. And then we will go from there. And not just say, hey, I'm the master of disaster and I know everything, so I can do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a real big green flag for dominance as well. I mean, when we're looking at submissives, um, being able to say, hey, look, for them to be able to say, for me and a lot of other dominants, I think, it is being able to name your flaws. Because for me, that shows you have used the pillars on yourself and you've said, hey, look, an emotional issue. I have a physical issue. You know your flaws. You can at least name them. Um, so for me, that's just in the same context, just kind of a little different. For me, a real good green flag is the willingness to learn. If a submissive is not willing to learn, I am not going to take my time. I'm not going to waste my time.
It makes sense.
Yeah, you know.
It doesn't make sense. Also, if they, a lot of the older practitioners and educated people do it, they don't talk about sex at all.
Right. Oh,
Sex is an off topic. I
yes,
mean, it belongs, for some, it belongs to the lifestyle, yes, but it's not the biggest part in it. And they actually don't really care about it.
right,
Anything else around it is more important. Good communication, being honest with each other and with themselves, and getting actually to know this person.
right. Because they understand. A lot of older practitioners, they went through the same training I did, and so they came up in the lifestyle, building the pillars, building their education, writing articles, and really connecting with the people, not only in their dynamic, but the people in the community as a whole. So, I think but I think that's a red flag. But any red flag can also be turned into a green flag by the reverse action, I think.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but I think that there should be a lot more discussions about um, the type of conduct and behavior that should be expected.
Mm,
I also think that there should be I think that there should be a standard, just like with the pillars, of, whether or not your experience is online or offline.
yeah,
Uh,
I agree on that. It's a
yeah,
whole different thing.
it is.
The whole online thing is, for me, actually an illusion.
It is in a way. It is a way, but we'll get into that in another video, because that's a whole separate little crap, that may piss off a lot of people. So
Totally.
we'll do that video, no problem. But honest, I mean, pillars require honesty. But as far as red flags or just flags in general go, um, I think a really good green flag is, just from practitioners in general, is understanding the purpose of the pillars. Understanding that the pillars are not um, just for other people. It's, understanding that the pillars have to start with yourself first. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, how are you going to be honest with anyone else?
Hmm.
So, all right, well, gonna have to wrap this up and say thank you to the audience for watching. And I hope that you continue to like, follow, and share us. We're trying to open up an Instagram channel. We have our YouTube channel and our TikTok channel. You can like, follow, and share with us there. We're gonna have a lot more of these kind of types of conversations. And look at our other videos. Anything you want to say, honey?
Yeah, not yet.
uh, Honey is very, very nervous. All right, well, hey,
Bye.
thanks for that. Y'all have a good day. Stay kinky, stay safe, and educate yourselves.